You see? He's a fucking traitor. He's buddied up to Trump and made a deal behind closed doors. You see? You see? That is how you all sound right now about this picture. This is from 2017, guys. 2017. Specifically, it was from a dinner that Trump invited both Pelosi and Schumer and a couple of the Democratic leaders to, shortly before I believe they had that government shut down. Okay, and they were going to talk about tax reform, immigration, and other conservative topics. Trump had even told the press, I want to at least give it a try to be bipartisan. Not that he was probably being genuine. Clearly it was a photo op to paint him as not the unreasonable guy. But as you know, not too long after this, we had that record-long shutdown because he didn't get his border wall funding, which he eventually capitulated to. Trump, that is, not Schumer. Don't believe me? Here's the article. Look what less than 5 seconds worth of research on an image shows you. See the date, September 13th, 2017. This is what I'm saying about people being all caught up in their feels right now, and you're playing into the mainstream narrative. You're further creating a divide within the Democratic Party based on fake propaganda. And I'll tell you something, that image that you saw posted by a friend, who saw posted by a friend, who saw posted by a friend, probably came from a Republican strategist on social media. Seriously. You have to get out of your feelings and do your research before you go roughshod, as someone liked to throw at me the other day, into making your assumptions and your opinions. Like, you have to look into this. Like all of you, when that House bill first dropped for the budget back in February on the 18th, like all of you, partly due to poor Democratic messaging and probably some really smart Republican strategists who understand human psychology, I was hyper-focused on the cuts. $880 billion coming out of the Committee of Commerce and Energy is very upsetting because that committee oversees Medicaid. So like all of you, I'm just like, oh my God, Medicaid, Medicaid, Medicaid. Oh my God, education cuts. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And did not read further down the list of the rules and the laws. The day that House bill passed, and I heard people like Fetterman saying they weren't going to vote for it because it was bad for voters, it was bad for his constituency, it was bad for American jobs. I went and took a second look before I condemned Fetterman on his thoughts, because I'm sorry, he does come across a lot like a Mr. Joe Manchin out of, we don't want that bullshit, right? But it turns out Fetterman was right. He had a cool, calm, and collected fucking head and went through and read all of everything. When I went past the cuts and I started dealing into the, appropriation side of it and, what they're going to do with the money and how they're going to do it and who's going to do it, bing, 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 light bulbs. Oh my God, all the light bulbs in the world. You would have thought a Demogorgon was coming through the upside down into my house. The lights were getting so bright. And if you don't know what I'm talking to, you really need to go watch Stranger Things. Excellent fucking show. It will make you cry. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. When I started looking at what the bill does as far as law goes, beyond like requiring reductions in deficits, and spending, girl, big picture, all right? Big picture thinking. The Democrats didn't fucking go there. Nobody was talking about how this literally gives control of the purse, essentially de facto, to the president through the control of the chair of the committee. No, before that, they were just being vague generalities and hyper-focused on one man, Elon Musk. When really, Musk is not the issue. The issue is the overreach, okay? Musk is just a symptom of the overreach. But we don't have Democratic congressmen who are intelligent enough to break this down Barney style and explain this to the public. Not just their constituency, but the public itself. And I think that's part of the problem. And then we have this disappointment and frustration when things just go horribly wrong. And yes, I think Fetterman and Schumer and a lot of other Democrats should have been a little more specific, not about just who was going to suffer, but what more suffering could be caused, because Trump will have all these guardrails in place. He'll literally not have the oversight we have right now to keep heckling him in court to back off some of these policies that are clearly overreach and outside of his, purview, outside of his scope. I think part of the reason that Schumer flip-flopped at the last minute, okay, it wasn't because of some backdoor deal with Republicans. Get real. That man was lost in his fucking feels, like AOC and a lot of the House, and he was knee-jerk reacting to everything at first when he saw this thing pass. But some of the cooler heads prevailed and said, yo, we got to look at the bigger picture here of what we stand to lose if we're shut down. What damage can Trump do if we're shut down? And they realized the damage caused by this bill is less catastrophic, by just a little, but it is much less catastrophic than if we would have just shut down and let Trump have the keys to the kingdom. Because what is the off-ramp if we had a shutdown? What is the off-ramp? We're assuming that the pressure by the Republicans' constituency will force them to the table. Trump's word alone took the House of Representatives, Republicans, away from the negotiation table to begin with. One word, and it walked them away, okay? And you know what would happen? Trump would say, guys, you got to wait. Let me get all of these other things finished while we don't have all of these checks and balances in the way, and then you can make a deal for like an extra 30 days or some bullshit. Shutting down would have been bad. Totally bad. But what's making this worse now is people running around denigrating the Senate, the Democratic Party leaders, and everything else based on misconstrued, clearly GOP propaganda that you're all spewing as fact. They're winning the game because they're in your fucking feels, guys. You got to be apathetic as much as you fucking hate. And I've made that clear in a previous video. We are in the FAFO beginning. And we don't want to go through the FAFO because we know what's coming. But the problem is that this is a team event. And the other part of our team is MAGA. And they're going to have to go through FAFO. And we're going to have to fucking go through it with them whether we like it or not. While I don't appreciate Schumer being in office still, let alone Pelosi and a lot of this old guard, I do appreciate the fact that his calmer, rational thought prevailed on this matter. Very horrible decision. And later this morning, I'm publishing an article. It's really long, unfortunately. But if you like to read or like to listen, it breaks down all the possible scenarios of what this budget fight would have been. And my ultimate conclusion was what Schumer's was. We were going to have to take the budget as it is because the threat to American jobs, democracy, and everything else was even more at risk significantly with all of the guardrails and protections off if we had a shutdown. I don't think people really appreciate that. The courts would even shut down at some point because they have limited funding. And then how are we supposed to sue him and go after him and block him from what he's doing? What are we going to do? Schumer did the right thing. And it fucking sucks. But guys, you don't need to go around pushing GOP, Trump, propaganda. You're smarter than this shit. You brag about being smarter than this shit. But you're not acting like it. You're not showing it. Gotta quit this, guys. Gotta quit it. Get out of your feelings.